Someone says, "What's the future?" Vaughn Coleman.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. How's it going, guys? Welcome to our second Vaughn Coleman Presents of the day. It's been a good one, but this is one that has been a long time coming, and finally, it only took us 76 episodes, but here we are, and the stars have aligned. It's a good time because obviously it's not his first time on the channel, but it is the first interview. Buzz just did this beautiful variant cover for Phenomenova, which can be found on Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and Fund My Comic. I'm going to have the Kickstarter link up right now, but here it is, which is just absolutely gorgeous, and we will definitely talk about it, but of course I want to talk about Buzz in general. So you know what? Well, I'll pitch it for you real quick. So Phenomenova follows the idealistic son of a World War III veteran who is struck by lightning while holding a mysterious crystal, and he finds himself awakening with lightning powers and lightning speed. He decides that he wants to become a superhero inspired by the brave ones that came before him. So if that sounds interesting to you, definitely check it out. What I love about this cover is it just perfectly encapsulates thematically what the story is about, while also just looking cool and showing off the characters. So I love it. But let's bring in the man himself, Buzz. How's it going?
Hey, Vaughn, how are you?
Doing well. Alex says, don't take no shit from this punk, Buzz. All right, off to a great start.
Alex?
Yeah, Alex, he's a regular of my show. Yeah.
Thank you, Alex. Now, are you talking to me about not taking shit from this punk, or are you talking to punk about not taking shit from this older punk?
Yeah, no, he's saying you can't take anything from me, which don't worry. I don't get anything.
Dish him out. It's all good.
Yeah, so it's great finally having you on. First of all, I always like to ask, how did you get started in comics?
Well, I started in comics, or just getting into comics.
Getting into comics, and then
I read comics as a kid, just like everybody else. Mm-hmm. I earned my first geek merit badge. I was born and raised in Burma, halfway around the world, Southeast Asia. So my first exposure to comics were Burmese comics. Mm-hmm. And they were pretty much like more funny cartoons, animals, and then they had like love stories, which I was too young to understand. But what I did was I read my father's comic books. My father grew up during the British occupation in Burma in his youth, and he had collected a lot of the English language comic books. So I actually read Golden Age comics, held them in my hand that belonged to my dad. So I was introduced to characters like Shazam or Captain Marvel and Spy Smasher and Captain Marvel Jr. and stuff like that. And then we came to America in 1981 when I was 12, and then that was when I was introduced to the new comic books, full color, this special powers, and every title, and I just consumed everything I can get my hands on. And then I said I want to be one day like one of those guys that drew all that amazing stuff in the books. So that's
awesome. So when you were 12 is when you moved to the US, and then you decided not long after that?
Yeah, no. I turned 12 when I came here. I was in the February 1981. I had lived in Staten Island for a little while with at my uncle's home. He was the one that sponsored us to come here from Burma. And my cousins were only a few years older than me, and they took me to the comic store, and and I was just like, oh my God, this is amazing stuff. And then I would copy the stuff I saw, and then eventually I kind of showed so much interest in drawing it that when I went to, then we moved to Brooklyn, and We lived in Flatbush, Brooklyn for a while. It was the only place we can afford to live. And so I went to Ditmas Junior High School. I think myself and like one other Asian kids were the only Asian in the school. And, and I drew everything. I was, drawing for my friends and every blank space in my textbook, in my notebook, I was drawing in it. There was an art class. Miss Evelyn Myers was the art teacher, and she saw me. She kind of took me on her wings, and like she entered me into every art contest they had, and I excelled in it, and I won a lot of awards for the school. If you go to the school now, they have the plaques that I won in there in the trophy room. So that's pretty cool.
Awesome.
That's when I still didn't think, I was still a kid. And then when I was about 13, 14, I went to my very first Comic-Con comic book show in Manhattan. And that just blew my mind. I saw what an original piece of art looks like for a comic book. I thought they were all drawn on a comic size.
Yeah.
And there was like a table filled with original comic art that this retailer was selling. And I was like, what is this? It's like, this is what a comic page looks like before it becomes a comic book. And I was just like, wow. Thor 337 had came out, and I had my copy with me. And Walt Simonson was a guest at the show. And I wanted to get a sign, and so Walt was in the hallway of the hotel. This was at the Penta Hotel. And he was sitting in the corner and he was signing autographs for every kid that was, and he was surrounded by a bunch of kids. And, I stood in line and he signed my comic book. And, they were asking for him on the announcer, and they were announcing his name. They were on the speaker. They were like, Mr. Simonson, please come to room, whatever. And we were like, oh, you have to go. And Walt's like, they can't start without me. And then he sat there and signed every single comic book.
Wow.
Every single kid.
So he hasn't changed.
No, he hasn't. He came by when we were at Garden State.
Yeah.
He came by specifically. He always come by and checks on me. He's like, hey, how's your family? I heard you guys are going through some stuff. And, Uncle Walt, he's the best.
He's the nicest. Him and Louise are two of the nicest people in comics that I've ever met.
Whenever I meet an asshole in the industry growing up, if I want to kind of re-equate things and, sort of bring a little bit of hope back into the industry, I think of the Simonsons.
Me too.
Then I feel much better about everything.
Yeah. Exactly. They are just.
And there are a lot of fucking assholes in this business.
Oh yeah. I've noticed. I've noticed, but it's great though. I mean, the Simonsons, they're like Walt. Even when whenever I'm working with Michael Golden, he comes over he's like, hey, how you doing? Just wanted to make my rounds. He's always doing that, even down to like the smaller indie creators. I mean, just the nice salt of the earth, just the nicest guy. I haven't been able to get a sketch from him though. I waited for 2 hours at Baltimore Comic-Con, and even at Garden State, I've yet to be able to get a sketch. I've been wanting him to do Archangel.
You were in Baltimore Comic. Oh, were you working there though?
I wasn't working at Baltimore. No, if I was working, I would have no. There would be no way.
Because if you breathed the wrong way, you would have gotten flogged for it. So yeah. My buddy Cliff Baker is in the chat.
How's it going, Cliff?
Some people in there. Yeah, he's TN Comic Collector. He's my partner in crime. We do when I do my exclusive. I've done some exclusives with him. His
awesome.
Company. So yeah.
What's his company?
TN Comic Collector.
Okay, cool. Yeah. That's awesome. And then Alex is asking.
Seriously, somebody's ringing my doorbell.
We can wait a second.
Can you? I'll be back.
All right, you got it.
Stare at my wall. That's some good art. I'll be back.
All right, let's stare at Buzz's wall for a second. All right, I wish I could zoom in. That looks dope though. Yeah. Cheers. Yeah. No, I will ask your question, Alex. But yeah, interview Buzz's chair. That would be a great interview. Oh, look at those comic boxes. Wish I can't fully see the art, but I imagine there must be just a lot back there. Everyone, make sure to hit like if you haven't already. If you're on Twitter, do me a favor, join me over on YouTube. We're live on YouTube right now, and it would definitely help the algorithm. Make sure to hit that like button too. But yeah, my grandfather had the couch. Yeah, it's riveting stuff. But make sure to hit that like if you haven't already. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and definitely check out Buzz's cover and check out Buzz's website. You know what? I could go ahead and post some more of his links while he's here. Help him out. We got also his Instagram. If you guys aren't following him, make sure you do. His whatnot.
Sorry about that.
It's all good.
My fucking neighbor forgets her keys, so she can't. And the middle door is locked, so she rings my doorbell to let her in.
Well, I'm glad. No, that's it's all good.
I should have left her there.
1 second. I'm adding your whatnot to.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I thought it was already in there, but it didn't copy and paste properly, so that has been amended. You do what? Sunday streams, right?
I got that couch from your grandmother, Cliff. That's why it looks like it. I'm reading the chat.
All right, let me go ahead and put this back. Let me go ahead and.
Oh, by the way, Alex VRB asked earlier. He said, "Do I still have those comic books?" Well, I'm going to answer. So, I used to write my name on them.
Oh,
you know, because they were my comics. And when I came to America, I didn't bring all of them with me. I just grabbed my few of my favorites. The last time I visited my country was in 1988 when I was 19. And when I went back to my childhood home, my aunts are still living there. They threw out everything. They threw all my comic out because they didn't know I was going to come back.
Yeah.
Plus, they don't put any value in this kind of stuff over there, you know?
Gotcha.
And like they sell paper by the pounds, you know. There's a recycle guy comes in and they buy metals and, you know, pots and pans and paper. So, but fast forward, this is like 1994. I was hanging out at Alex Ross, and his name drop. Alex Ross's home. This is when he was in the middle of working on Kingdom Come. And Alex and I were friends, and you know, I did some character designs for him, and I posed for him for some of the characters. And he had a mountain of references, you know, for Kingdom Come. So he had a lot of books of Golden Age characters and books, and he had the Marvel Family trade paper hardcover. With the CC back cover, and I was looking, I go, wow, you know, I used to have these. I actually had some of them on my desk. I had their actual, you know, single issues, and said, yeah, no, this is a compilation. Then I look on the back cover, and they have pictures of all the single issues, and one of them had my name on it.
Oh, because they took it.
I was like, I said, Alex, can you look at, what does that say? He said, it says Aldrin. So it was like, what the heck? So somehow my comic books ended up, somebody bought them, exchanged hands or whatever. And then when they were doing the compilation, somebody got a copy of my comic book, and they used it for the compilation, and they used it from the back cover.
That's crazy.
So I was just like,
that's nuts.
The hell out of me. So, you know, at least they ended up somewhere, and somebody, you know, appreciated it.
You should track them down. Like, that's my copy.
This was no. I was just happy that it was just a weird, you know.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
And I do want to get to, because I know you have some interesting like Alex Ross stories, but I want to get to, so your first ever work in the industry, because you started very young, was what?
I will tell you that when I was about 14 or so, I went to one of these small conventions in Manhattan, and I met up with a a writer named Mark Wayne Harris. He had a comic book out. He was doing a lot of books for Black Vaughn publication, and he was doing a couple of titles, Street Wolf and Merlin Realm and stuff like that. And he saw my work, and he's like, "Wow, we should do something together." I was like still in high school. I said, "Sure, anything." So I did some pencil work for Blackthorn, and they took my drawing and had somebody else ink it, and publisher didn't pay me because I was a kid. It's the last time I ever said I'm going to get fucked by not getting paid for my work. Right off the bat, I learned a valuable lesson. They took a pencil drawing of their character I did for a promo. They had Jim Starlin ink it.
Oh yeah,
that's cool. Credited Jim Starlin.
Oh, that's not cool. Never mind.
So I learned a lesson from that. I was mad, man. I was still a young kid. I was excited, but I also already know, like nobody should do that to you. So that was how I started. And then when I was about 16, 17, I went to another Comic-Con, and I had a portfolio full of art, and I showed it to Art Nichols, this artist, this inker. He was an art director up at Continuity Studios, Neil Adams Continuity Studio. Mm-hmm. And he saw my work and said, "Hey, I'm going to take these out for Neil to look at them. And if he likes him, maybe, we should get some work for you." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." Like nervous as hell. "Did you just say Neil Adams Continuity?" And he's like, "Yeah." I said, "All right." And like a week later, I didn't hear anything. I took a job at Pearl Paint. Pearl Paint's on it's closed now. It was on Canal Street. It was the largest art supply store in the world, 5 stories. And it was summer and I needed a job. So I took a job working at Pearl Paint. And I lasted there for about a week. And I got a call. My mom, when I got home, she's like, "We got a call from a studio about something comic books." I said, "Oh," and it was Continuity. Art Nichols calls me and said, "You got to come up. Neil wants to meet you and see, he'll tell you what he wants." I said, "Okay." I went up and saw Neil, and he gave me work. My first assignment was he gave me a stack of his comic books to get familiar with what he does. I already know who he was. He was also one of my favorite artists and my main influences. So I was nervous as hell. It's like going up there was like Zeus calling you up to Mount Olympus.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was supposed to work on a title of Cyberrad. I blew the deadline. I was so nervous. I did the pages, and I was afraid to take him up there because I'm like, he's going to critique it. He's going to tear me up. And I showed it to him, and he was, "Okay, this needs fixing. This will work." And I'm like, "No, it's terrible. I've never done this before, And he was just like very easy on me, and it scared me off. So I took those pages and I went up to DC Comics cold and then showed him my work, and I got work at DC Comics.
Nice.
So I had no problem going up to DC.
That's good.
But I was
you were scared
so
of Neil
nervous
Adams
to fucking show my work to Neil.
Well,
that's how I got in. And then, DC looked at my work, gave me some inventory, but they didn't have any titles for me. So, and I had to finish school. And I wasn't looking to become a comic book artist full time or anything. I just wanted to know what it was like, so I can like brag to my friends about it. I wasn't serious. And then a couple of friends of mine who were very influential in my art, amazing artists, these twin brothers, and Ms. Udiel and Celine Caton, these two twin brothers, these tall black kids that took me under their wings. And actually Udiel is the one who taught me how to draw women. These two guys at the age of 16, 17 were drawing like what Adam Hughes is drawing today. They had that, yeah. But again, they were truly talented, but they just didn't want to do work. But he was doing some work at Eternity Comics on a title called X Mutants, and I ended up inking him on a couple of covers. But so I had done all this work, but the ones that saw print first was Eternity Comic Work. Although I had done stuff with Neil and DC prior, but when you do inventory stuff, they don't publish it right away. They just shelf it, and then when they need a fill in, they'll pull it out and use it. So yeah, that was how I officially broke in.
That's awesome. So you did inventory work at DC. But I know you managed to stay close with Neil Adams.
Yeah, well, what happened was, although I didn't do the job, I went to college with both his sons, Joel and Jason. Jason was my age. Joel is a year older than me, so he was a grade above me. But I had already met them at the studio. I was friends with his daughter, Zia, and Chris. But over the years, I just stayed friends with them, and I just became part of the family, and it remained that way. I still am close friends with the family, and then we lost Neil 2 years ago. God bless him. Yeah. And we all miss him. But he had maintained a big influence on me in my art, throughout the years. Even when, I didn't work with him, I work on my own. Every once in a while, I'll get a phone call, and say, "Hey, Neil wanted me to call you and check in on you."
That's nice.
So that, he was like everybody's dad. So.
Yeah, I wish I could have met Neil, but I mean, obviously his art is amazing. I think he's one of his most underappreciated things is Havoc's design. I love Havoc's design.
Oh, yeah, he had an amazing sense of design, definitely, because he brought a lot of that from his advertising. So he wasn't when he created something, it wasn't just for the comic eye. It's for anyone who enjoys fantasy and the visual medium. So he made it appealing for all mediums. It wasn't just for comics. Like he's a real thinking guy. Like whenever he designs something, he has to make sure that it works, and not just comics, but like it has to make sense in other medium. Like hey, if this was a real person, we can make this. If you had an armor, this is how the plate works, the wing works, and this, this is how he was. I learned a lot of that from him.
Yeah, I could see it in your work too. And speaking of, I know your first work was those, but what was your first full comic that you did?
Oh, sheesh. I think it was like an issue of Dragonlance for DC. I had done, and this was all under Aldrin All, named not Buzz. I started using my nom de plume Buzz much later on. I was going by my real name, Aldrin. I'm named after Buzz Aldrin. So, and we all, if you search for some of the video and vignettes on Vaughn's channel, you'll see my Buzz Aldrin stories.
Oh, that your Buzz Aldrin story is a classic.
Yeah,
classic story.
I met my namesake. Yeah, there you go. See.
Oh, you got to meet him? I know you went to his house, but I didn't know you got to.
I know. I met him at a couple of times at a book signing, and one time I actually told him that I was named after him and couldn't give a shit.
He didn't care.
The fucking asshole.
Wow.
So, well, and I'm an asshole too, so I'm more than just a namesake. Oh yeah, he's completely. I had a friend that worked for I think one of books or something, and he had to be his liaison for some promotional shit. And my friend almost quit. He said, "I'm never fucking working for this motherfucker again."
Oh, that's good.
I mean, that's just personal. His experience. He said he's such a prima donna. He was like fucking abusing my friend for like free stuff and stuff. He was just like, so he hates Buzz Aldrin. I don't really have a big opinion on him as a man. I just think it's his importance in the what he did, what he achieved. Mm-hmm. And probably he got so much fucking ass after that, right? Think about it, right? Can you imagine that? Oh, yeah. You walk into a bar and you see a hot chick, and any guy is like trying to mac, and whatever they're telling her, he just walks up and says, I went to the moon.
Yeah, exactly.
That fucking kills everything, It shrunk every dick in the fucking bar.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, he's my hero.
That's awesome. And then moving from there, so you've gone, and then when you did, so you did that one for DC, and then what was your first your first work? I don't know, because I know you Dragonlance. I had never
No,
heard of.
I've done other stuff, but if you want to know, like, what was the? I mean, I did stuff, independent stuff, tons of independent stuff.
Mhm.
I did some pornographic comics also, you know, and I was living in Long Island with a girlfriend, and I was broke. So there was a publisher in Long Island that were doing these unauthorized autobiography for famous. Actually, it's a collector's item. I did one of William Shatner called Personality Comics, and the publisher, two of them are pieces of shit. They were screwing the artist over. You know, I actually got a few of my artist friends to come in and work at the company, and hoping that, you know, they can get some work, some money in this. The publishers screwed them, so I got pissed off, and then they never returned my artwork. And then a few years later, after I did Vampirella and I got known, I was at a convention in New York, and a fan came up with the original artwork from the book and asked me to sign it. And I was like, "Where did you get this?" You know, and it's like, "Well, I bought it." I said, "From who?" He said, "From," and they named the publisher. I was like, "Oh, you know, this artwork is stolen." And the guy was like, "Oh," you know, I was like, "No, it's all right. It's not your fault." You know, it's like I signed. I just asked them when it was, and then so this is a funny part. Same show, about 10 minutes after this, and I was just telling my friends there about it because they knew this had happened. Right. And this is about the time I was Vampirella came out, and it was very popular. And my friend Sasha North was the model, Vampirella model. Mm-hmm. And we were both smokers. So she wants to take a break, and she doesn't want to just go outside in a vampy outfit and she's smoking away, and a bunch of fanboys going to bother her. So I said, "All right, you know, I'll go out with you." So we're taking the escalator up. This was at Jacob Javits Center, 1994, the last show, and so we're going up up the escalator because we're in the basement to go out, and then down the escalator are the two fucking publishers.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. The name was Adam Post and Eric Shefferman. Assholes. I think they're still somehow peripherally in the business. A bunch of fucking douchebags, right? So we're going up the escalator, and I see, I'm like, is that those and it was, right? And motherfucker had to also wave at me like nothing happened. So I was like, I'm gonna come looking for you, piece of shit, right? And they look puzzled, and I'm out. I had to take her outside, and we're smoking. I'm like, hurry up! It's like smoke. I got something to do. And she's like, well, what's the matter? I said, those two guys ripped me off. Somebody just came up with they stole my artwork and sold it, and somebody just came up with them today. So I'm gonna beat that fucking ass right now. She's like, oh my God, you do that? I said, well, beat people asses? Yeah. You know, if they screw me, sure. And so I took her back down to the booth, and my friend Stuart Morales, who was the handler, I said, here, keep her here, whatever. I got things to do. And I was looking for these two motherfuckers, right? And I saw them going to an artist alley, and they were looking at some up and comers, you know. And after they left, I was like, and I said it loud and I said, all you guys pay attention, listen, please. If anybody named Adam Post or Eric Shefferman came over today and offer you work, be careful. They will rip you off. These guys been doing that to a lot of artists. He ripped me off. So don't work for them, or just be careful. Like, I fucking made an announcement right there. And then this is a few years before Stephen Hughes passed away. This is Stephen Hughes, the co-creative lady, and Stephen were friends. At that time, it was me, Billy, Stephen, and Brian. We were in the hot girl independent group.
Right.
We were pretty tight. And Stephen said, "What's going on?" I told him, I said, "Listen, those two douchebags from Long Island, screw me over, they're here. And Steve's like, all right, I'm going to help you look for them. But he said, just be careful. Don't let what happened to me in San Diego last year. So apparently in San Diego, the year before that, Stephen Hughes was in San Diego, and some guy who ripped him off showed up, and they got into it, but they both got kicked out of the show.
Kicked out of the show.
So Steve was like, make sure if you're going to do anything, take him outside. Don't do it in the hall. Okay. And you know, we didn't have cell phones back then. Steve is like, he came by later. Hey, I found him. And Stephen Hughes found the asshole, and he's on a payphone in between the halls. And so I went up to him. I was like, hey, Adam, I got to talk to you, man. Get off the phone. He said, I'll be with you in a minute. And he's on the phone, like, talking to I don't know who. So I went and I hung up the phone.
Oh, fuck.
And he's still talking. Yeah, which means he wasn't talking to anybody. He was just like, he's trying to figure out what to do. So he just grabbed the phone and pretend he was on it. So I was like, hello, Adam. Remember me? And he's like, hey, Buzz, how you doing? I heard you're doing really well. I go, yeah, hey, let's go outside and have a talk. I need to speak to you. He's like, oh, okay, we can't talk in here. He said, nope. Let's go outside, have a talk. He won't come out. He's like, we have to talk. I just had a guy came up to me today with my artwork that you should have returned to me a couple of years ago. He bought it from you, and then he had me sign it. What the fuck is going on, man? You ripped me off before, and you're still ripping me off. That's bullshit. So let's go outside so we can talk. And he's like, I'm not going out there with you. I was like, oh, yeah, you are. And and Steve is like, don't touch him, Buzz. Not in here. I'm trying to get him outside and he won't come out. And so I started going off on the guy, calling him names like, you fucking owe me money. I said, give me my money right now. What do you have in your wallet? I'm literally mugging him right there. What do you got in your wallet? Give me your money. And but what really stopped me was I looked down and his knees were doing this. I've only seen that in cartoons, right? I was like, holy shit, this guy is like literally scared shitless. And that kind of woke me up a little bit. I was like, oh man, fuck. All right. I was like, you have my information, send me my shit back, make it right, because if you don't, next time I see you, I'm not even going to be this nice to you, and so I let him go. But I had witnesses when this happened, but yeah, because I had already learned when I was a kid that not to let anybody take advantage of me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is the same advice you guys out there,
Yeah.
Do things for exposure. If I want exposure, I drop my fucking pants in public. Okay? But make sure you know your worth and you're compensated for it. Get everything in writing. So either way, he never got back to me. So he just dodged me, and it's been like 30 years now. But I'm over it.
That's awesome. That's such a good story. Yeah, I think I remember hearing that's crazy. Let's see. So I'm getting back because that kind of leads me into Vampirella was huge, but how did that come about? How did you end up getting that job with Vampirella?
Vampirella because I wanted to get laid.
What do you mean?
I'll tell you. So it had something to do with Marvel Comics and X-Men comic book. X-Men.
Okay.
I was so in '93. I got work at Marvel, and I was put on an X book right away.
That's awesome. That was
wow. Yeah. It was myself and my best friend, Chris Batista. We both got at Marvel. Chris and we've been friends since he was part of that crew of artists who got screwed over. So we've been friends since we were teenagers. And out of the group, I was the first one to make it as a pro. But every time I get a chance, I will grab my artist friends and try to get them work. And then if it's not kosher, I tell them, hey, let's go. And then some of them listen, some of them don't. So they all got scars. But so Chris and I got in Marvel, and I was put on X Factor, and because Quesada was leaving, and he was going to Valiant,
Mm-hmm.
and so they had me do the annual, a couple of the regular issues, and this is before I was inking myself.
Mm-hmm.
I was a penciler only, and this is something that the industry editorial kind of discouraged you from doing everything. They only want you just pencils and no inks because they have inkers they have to give work to, So I would bust my ass on the pencils, and then the inker will ink it. I don't like it, and I whine about it like a little bitch, and which was unfair because since I wasn't inking myself, I didn't know what went into inking somebody else's work.
Mm-hmm.
So they gave my pencils to Al Milgram.
Mm-hmm.
And Al was, I think, inking like 3-4 books a month.
Oh,
Let's just say Al inked my pages, and I wasn't happy with them.
Right.
So, you get the artwork and the pages back months before publication, so I had already seen them, and I was depressed. And I was so full of myself. How dare he destroy my beautiful pencil? Oh, the bullshit. Another hint, up and coming. Don't fall in love with your own artwork or you'll never grow. Get over that shit, right? That weekend, that was a convention, and it's 93, and then Jacob Javits again. So I'm like disillusioned walking around the convention with its portfolio of all the ink pages. And I see this girl dressed up as Vampirella in a booth. And I was like, I want to try to get laid. Go hit on her. Maybe my weekend might get better. I don't know. So, I mean, back then, like, I had hair down in my ass and I was about $1.65 and I looked like a pretty boy. So, I thought maybe I can Mac. So I went up to the booth and I see this girl, Kathy Christian, the first Vampirella model. She became Evangeline over at Image. And she, now Evangeline's going to be a movie now. So there you go. But she's real nice. But, I can't just hit on her. I needed reason to be at the booth. So I see this lady, this woman sitting at the booth, and she's the editor. So I said, I want to show you my portfolio. She said, sure, And I put my portfolio down on the table while I talked to the girl. So while the editor is looking at my artwork, I'm over there, hey, what's your name? Blah, blah, blah. Like,
this is her, right?
That's Kathy Christian. Yeah, that was the first Vampirella model. And she's so sweet, though. I mean, she was probably like she's like super Christian now and all that. I mean, she did a book called Evangeline, but she probably didn't even understand half the thing I was saying to her. So but as I'm trying to Mac to her, I hear from the woman at the booth, like, so how many pages can you do a day? And I'm like, oh, hang on a second, babe, right? So in our business, an editor doesn't want to know how many pages you can do a day unless they have some work for you. Okay. And I'm over there like, hey, okay. So the girl wasn't important anymore. This is about my work now, my art now. So, so I turned to her and said, I can do about a couple of pages of pencils a day. And she's like, oh, really? Are you exclusive at Marvel? I said, no. She said, would you be interested in doing some work for us? I said, only if I get to ink myself. I don't know how to ink myself. I mean, I can ink, but I've never done it for publication, right?
Yeah.
I've inked other people's work, but, I haven't done any published work that is inked by me because every time I do a page, it was only in pencil because they have an inker. They had an inker to work on my work. But for me to ink my own, I've never done that. So she's like, yeah, you can ink your own work. And then, they give me a little more than what they were paying me a Marvel page, which was pretty decent for 1993. And I was like, yeah, I didn't care about banging Vampirella anymore. Now I thought, hey, I get to ink my own work, and I'm familiar with the character, and that's how I got on Vampirella.
You got to ink your own.
I got to ink my own work. And then after inking my own work, I have more respect for inkers. And those of you out there, up and comer pencilers, if you really want to know, it's not the inker's fault. Let me tell you something. They're literally trying to bring finality to your pencil drawings. If you don't have it in the pencils, they're not going to be in the inks. All those beautiful gray values that you have, and you're jerking yourself off to. If you don't have them in crosshatch or line or in tone or in values, they're all going to be black, and then you'll cry about it. So yeah.
You got it. Yeah, pay attention.
Yeah. So anyway, that's how I got on the book, and and I didn't think that it was going to go. And look, at this point in my life, I wasn't looking to make money or famous or anything. I didn't even take the comic art seriously. I had other things happening in my life that, I mean, you're in your early 20s and you're halfway decent looking guy. And, I had a very lively social life. So it's like, I think it's one of mutual buddy who was talking about me in one of his podcasts is like Buzz would do a book. He gets paid a lot of money that he goes on vacation to Hawaii for like a month. That's what I was doing. I would make money. I would work sporadically, and they were paying really well because it turns out Vampirella was selling really well, and I was making a good residuals on it. And I just go off and spend the money daily. That's it.
That's awesome. So when it first took off, because that was I always think that story is so crazy that it was totally uncoordinated. Because that was, correct me if I'm wrong, that was, even though it was at the booth, Vampirella, that was Vampirella's comeback, right?
Yeah, Vampirella came out in 1969, great year, and it went from a Warren publication owner, and they went belly up, and they sold their property, publishing rights, and to Harris Publication. Harris didn't have a comic company. Harris Publication published about 20 to 30% of all the books in newsstands, like from puzzle books to guitar, music, Dog World, all of that. And so they bought it, and they got Vampirella as part of their package.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they have to publish something in order for it to, maintain the copyright and trademark. So they decided to put the character out. They did a mini series, just regular Vampirella miniseries, 4-issue with Jim Ballant and Louis Small, and that made some noise. And Image was really popular, so they were trying to change the character to kind of fit into the mold of what Image was trying to do, which is make her harder, edgier, and give her a leather jacket. That's what
yeah.
Every edgy characters have a leather jacket. Lobo, Ghost Rider, right? Punisher. Yeah. Even Wonder Woman got a leather jacket at one point with bicycle pants. That was horrible.
Yeah.
So I got to draw Vampirella, and I looked at the designs. I think the designs were already done by, I think Carl Alstetter was the original artist intended for the book. And he gave her a big leather jacket with big collars. And I was looking at it, and the reason was because Carl probably didn't know how to draw women. So if you cover them basically with a big jacket, all you got to draw is the face, legs, and a pair of freaking claw hands, right? So, yeah, I hope I'm not ripping on Carl. I mean, this was 30 years ago. He's a tremendous artist, but I just looked at it. I was like, oh, where is she? She's covered up. It's Vampirella. Why are they covering up? So whenever I drew her, I make her take off the damn jacket, or it gets ripped off or something for some reason.
That's good.
Yeah. So I mean, that thumbnail you use for the podcast, it's her in that stupid fucking jacket, right?
Yeah. Well, I was debating between using that or the first cover. The way I met you, actually, it was this is the first time I ever bought like a limited variant
that
cover.
Was the relaunch, and then the cool thing was, they did a 20th anniversary relaunch, 25th, right?
Something like that.
Something like that. Yeah,
I think 25th.
Something. they asked me to do a cover for the relaunch because I did the original Vengeance of Emperor series.
Right. And you didn't get to do the cover, I know, which I know you're not happy with.
No, I did a few covers, and then I don't know, I wasn't happy with it. So I'd still do them, but I like the fact that I do my own exclusives.
Yeah.
Because there's no editorial interference. They just say, don't make it like this and that. In between, you can do whatever you want. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I find crazy. So that relaunch is Vengeance of Vampirella came out around the same time as She and Lady Death, right?
They came out within a week apart.
That's crazy, and it was not
Lady
planned.
Death, She, and Vampy. I met Billy Tucci at his very first signing in a comic shop in Queens, and they invited me to do the signing same weekend. And I met him, and we became friends, fast friends from that point on. And we started traveling together, and then with Brian, so it was the Bad Girl, the trio, Lady Death, Vampirella, and She.
Mm-hmm.
It was really popular, man. I mean, but I don't own Vampirella, so the pressure is more on, Billy and Brian.
Yeah,
own the characters that create a home for them, so they got to make sure it's successful as make or break. With me, I'm just freelancing, and anybody can pick up Vampirella and draw it. So I'm just like, let me write this and see how far I can go with it, and also if I can get laid. And I did, because every stripper in America knew who Vampirella was.
Oh, okay.
So if this thing is coming off making me sound like some fucking
no.
Lothario, absolutely right, I am.
That was good.
But I can draw pretty good, so
yeah, and it looks like I know Billy had you do some stuff on She.
Yeah, no, I maintained a perpetual stupor for like 3 years, and in between like bouts of sobriety, I did some work. Gotcha. And so first I was like Billy's like translator and like his walking encyclopedia. Billy didn't know anybody. He didn't know shit. They don't let him fool you like he come off sounding like he's some freaking genius and he knew everything about comic book. We used to hang out and we meet somebody and he goes, "Who is that?" And I have to explain to him that was Chris Claremont. Oh, really? I said, yeah.
I told him, he denied that story too.
He's so full of shit. Yeah, he's got he's got his personality now and his facade to keep up. But I know all the dirt. Because of respect to Debbie, I won't tell him all here.
Oh boy, yeah,
and I know, and also he didn't close the deal with that fucking waitress, so I don't want to hear that shit.
He's still, all right, yeah, because I don't know if I should, but I was telling him that he goes, that didn't happen.
These slant sees everything. Okay, they may be small, but I see everything, and I see them in 16:9 ratio too. So. Letterbox, baby.
Yeah, all right. So I have to bother him about that. It's so funny because you guys are always like ripping on each other. The way I met you, because it was the first time I got this signed, and I go over because I had my She omnibus, and I know you had stuff in here. Yeah. And one of the first things you did was you grabbed you turn your page, you're like, yeah, see, I drew this. See, Billy can't draw this. See, I could do, and you were just
I bust Billy's balls, okay? Because that's what you do when you're friends, Yeah. But like he knows I love him, and I love his family too. Deb is the best,
Yeah.
And then the two boys are like my nephews. They got so big. Oh my God, one of them used to fit in a suitcase just a few years ago. Yeah, I think it was Matthew. Yeah, he used to like jump in his father's suitcase at the end of the show, and he used to like run around in it.
Oh,
but
really?
no, Bill and I bust each other's ass, and because I take the art thing a little different than he does. He's got to be the showman. Billy's a great business guy. It's like you gotta pimp your wear, and you have to have a personality for it. And I do too. But I'll tell you, I was not happy with anything that I drew that was published up until year 2000.
Really? Even the sheet pages that you were so proud of.
Oh yeah, no, like looking back, it's terrible. They were better than Billy, but yeah, terrible. Because I drew actually better feet than Billy.
You know, oh my God.
Billy draws these like broken arches on his bitches. Yeah.
I gotta tell you, the other day, because you say the same thing about it. The other day, he goes, "Yeah, Buzz can't draw feet." I'm like, he says the same thing about you.
I can't draw feet.
That's what he
He's
told
crazy.
me. He told me you can't draw. All right, I do have a question though. I noticed this about this cover when you said that. I did notice that the feet were covered up on this cover.
Nobody draws feet. It's like here's the thing. If you draw feet, right? If you want to show an entire figure of somebody and they're standing on a platform somewhere, that's it, right? So there's no intrigue. If I'm going to draw monsters and stuff, I don't have to worry about drawing the feet. I mean, look at it. She's like standing in like a middle of bodies of these fallen monsters she just massacred. Unless you're a fetishist going want to look at her fucking toes, nobody cares. But if she's gonna be flying around and I gotta show, her whole body, whatever, I have to draw feet. But when I draw them, I don't break their fucking arches like Billy does.
It's so
Look at him. The guy went to
all right, here's what he said. I'm trying
technology. I'm like, but you're killing all these women in your drawings. Look at them. Look at their feet, man. What's wrong with you, Billy? This is how I bust his balls. And he knows I'm fucking with him.
Yeah, no, he said, because I told him you were doing a cover. I was looking for the text. He goes, just don't ask him to draw feet. He can't draw feet. And I said, he says the same thing about you. He goes, very telling, isn't it? Bro can't do the feet.
No, he draws them. They're just not right.
You guys are so. I love it. It was at Garden State. You kept sending me over to Billy. You were like, tell Billy to bring me omnibuses. So Billy, it was like the go between. Like Billy gave me 2 she omnibuses. I was like, oh yeah. So he made me give you 2.
I think I left the other one at the table. I'm like, I'm not carrying this heavy shit at home. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, he would yeah, every time like I was at a show and there was an artist whose work was in there, he was like, why didn't I get one? I'm like, all right, now I gotta go to Billy.
But no, I'll tell you something, Vaughn. I met you at that show, and those of you who are watching this, Vaughn is a great kid. I say kid because I'm an old fuck. But it's just that you have this enthusiasm for the genre and comic books. It's like unmatched, man. Like you totally embrace it. I think that's wonderful. I think that's cool. So I will always support you because you are dead serious about doing this. And that's rare.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. It was really fun meeting you. I was dressed as Cypher from New Mutants, and you recognized the character, and no one recognized that character.
Yeah, I'm a fucking geek, man. I have my badge. I don't. I play off like I look like that kid from Up. A little old, much older, but still, I need a backpack and hang out with a really old guy. But I saw your outfit. I was like, hey, it's Cypher. And I remember I said, and you like, and you were so happy that I realized who you were. Otherwise, you just looked like, a blonde kid pretending to look like Kitty Pryde or something, whatever. They all
which I've seen generally. Like I've probably seen that at conventions.
Yeah, I was like, you need to get a warlock to hang out with you. Go find a crackhead or something and like spray paint him or something. Hang out with you. But but again, so immediately I was busting your balls. This was me testing you to see if you were cool, and you passed the test. You're a good kid, man.
Thank you. Yeah, that was fun.
And you and your slew of amazing friends like Bobby and
Jules and Zach.
Jules, even Zach,
yeah, even Zach. They're good. They're good.
You have a good group of friends. You guys like stick up for each other, and you guys support each other, and that's really good. That's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll hopefully, if they're not watching it, I'll make sure that they watch this back so they know. But another thing I remember discussing. So there's a few things. So First, what do I want to say? Okay, so I know you did a bunch of stuff. One thing that I remember that I think people would be interested to know is that you're in Kingdom Come. Right?
Yeah. So it's I met Alex Ross in 1994 in Heroes Con in
Oh,
Charlotte,
I was
North
just
Carolina.
there. I was
Yeah,
just there with Billy.
and it was I was hanging out with Bill also, and that was the Hang on a second, I got it. Yes. All right. Oh, sorry. Okay. What's the matter with you? Look, I'm working. Okay. All right. This is Kimber. This is the monster that bothers me when I do my life sketching. All right. Leave me alone now. Hmm? Look, Asian rubbing a cat without licking his chops. Um, so we that was the weekend where uh, OJ and the Ford Bronco. We
Oh,
watched it live. Yeah. We were at the show that weekend, and me, John Romita Jr., JR, and I used to be
yeah.
drinking buddies back in the day, and we were all at Charlotte, and we were all at the hotel bar and watching the chase. You know, so that whole weekend was great. But a lot of us, like, flight got canceled. The next day, everyone that was going to the East Coast and West Coast. So Sheldon um, provided us a hotel for another night, and we're just hanging around with nothing to do. So he set us up in the ballroom, and with just a bunch of artists hanging out. And he ordered like about a fucking like couple of hundred freaking slices, like pie with different flavors and shit toppings and shit. We had a party. Sheldon's such a good host. So me, the Gaijin boys, the Gaijin studio. So Adam Hughes was there, and Brian Stallfreeze, and Mark Texera. We were all there, and Jason Pearson was there. And that's where I met Jason, and became fast friends, and Alex was there. So we're drawing for each other. So this is where we get to geek out, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked Alex for a Silver Surfer. I just wanted a headshot, and he fucking drew Silver Surfer carrying Vampirella in his arm on the
Oh,
board, and you see the reflection. I was like,
wow.
fuck. I mean, no reference, nothing, out of his fucking head. And I have a copy of it somewhere. It's I think I showed it to you one time. But either way, I was like, this guy's the real deal. And he loves all the older comics and all the Golden Age, Silver Age characters, which I'm more familiar with because I read all the older stuff first. So we struck up a conversation and we became friends. And the next show was the Chicago Comic Con, like a couple of weeks later. And I went there, and he lives in Chicago, and so I called ahead. It was him, Angel Medina, and a bunch of guys. We hung out. That's when Alex told me about he was working on Kingdom Come. He had already started. This was before Mark Waid had anything to do with it. Everything was all
Oh, it was
Alex.
his idea?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Mark came in as a writer, or a scripter, or whatever. This was all Alex.
I didn't know it.
Alex was kind enough. It's the same thing with Marvel. That was all Alex too. But Busiek got the co-creator because Alex was kind of he wasn't that confident in his writing, so he thought it would be helpful to bring in a scripter and a writer. But all the ideas in Kingdom Come, everything was Alex.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and the cool thing was in Chicago at the time. The difference between Chicago and New York, I'll tell you. New York, there was a bunch of artists that hung out, but they're very cliquish, Mm-hmm. So you're either part of the, Quesada's fucking clique,
Mm-hmm.
or you're nobody. And I hate that cliquish shit. And I don't like him either, so fuck him.
Yeah, I was going to say, I noticed, I didn't realize your first bunch of covers were done by your buddy Joe Quesada.
Yeah. And in Chicago, man, like every Thursday, all the artists get together. They all play volleyball. There's a local church has a gym, and like they put money in the till, and then they play volleyball. And afterward, they all hang out at the local pub. They do this like every Thursday, and like there's like a brotherhood of artists, no egos. Like if you're late on a project, they'll crash your studio and help you out and do a jam sessions and shit, And I was introduced to that, and so what I did was I started Thursdays. I started going to Chicago. I wanted to go hang out with these guys because all the New York artists were a bunch of assholes. They're full of themselves. So I started going there, and I ended up getting an apartment there. It was cheaper for me to live there for a while instead of flying out in and out like Thursdays. But while I was there, I was hanging out with Alex, and while he was working on Kingdom Come, and he was like, "Hey, I need you to pose for some stuff." I'm like, "Oh, cool! I get to be a superhero." No, I was the two egghead fucking aliens in issue 2. I was a reporter. Yeah, it's like
I
all
turned right
the
to
cool characters were already taken. So, and I had to go like pose and pretend I'm getting punched, and that's me. Yeah. And Red Robin that punched me out. That's Ken Coy. That's a friend of ours. He posed for him, and but I helped with some of the weird character designs that made it in the book. So I'm mentioned in the acknowledgement.
Oh, what character designs did you do?
Oh shit, I did. There's a big giant Japanese robot. There's one that's.
I haven't gotten you to sign this somehow. I have to.
Yeah,
I thought I did.
There's few characters, but anyway, so that's how we became friends. The thing was that he would call me even when I was in New York, and I would get him references. There aren't too many comic shops in Chicago. There's one in like every corner in New York. So I would go through back issue bins and check out. One of them was the classic Neil Adams Justice League, where everybody's standing. And Alex got the idea to use that for one of the Kingdom Come cover where everyone is standing, And so I was sending him references, comic books in the mail and stuff. So we were pretty good friends for a while back then,
That's awesome.
But I partied too much for Alex's liking. He's very, very studious, and he's very serious. He used to tell me that shit. It's like, you're such a good talent. How come you don't fucking do this and do that? I was like, because I'm not you. That's not what I want to do, Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Alex Ross, I mean, obviously his stuff is great. I am curious. Because you said you're drinking buddies. I was talking to another one at Heroes Con. You and Bisley were pretty close, right?
Yes. Simon and I became friends in '94 when I started going to San Diego. I would probably say he's one of my favorite people in the world because he is the most unpretentious bastard you ever want to meet.
Oh, Biz? Oh, he's so down to earth. I love Biz.
He doesn't give a fuck about what you think, and he wears his heart right here, and he's a good bloke, and so he's treated me the same from the first minute I met him to now when I see him. So I love Biz. Simon's a great guy. I'll tell you how we became friends. This is when San Diego, 1994. Now, what San Diego now is so overblown. If you've been to San Diego, the halls are lettered, right? Hall A, Hall B, Hall C. Back in '94, the letters only used to go to C. And that was the biggest thing you ever saw. Now it goes to H.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The show blew up so much that they had to extend the entire building. After Hall C was a marina and a boat dock. Like, they filled a marina and extended the freaking, hall. That's how big it became. So back then, it was still, a big deal for us, definitely. And if you're a guest there, it's like, man, you won't see any movie stars or whatever. We were it. People pay money to come see us. So we were treated really well, and we stayed in that DoubleTree Hotel in Horton Plaza. This is because where the Omni is today and all those posh hotels, it was the slum. It was the ghetto, you know? And so we stayed at the Horton. Everyone stayed there. They had a sports bar with 2 pool tables, and that's all I needed. You know, it was like we all hung out there, and Simon and Martin Edmond, Simon, Paul Jenkins, and all the Brits were there. And Simon and I became friends, and I beat him pool. We played pool, and he thought he could play, and he thought he could play drunk. I used to manage a pool hall, so I don't tell people that, right? So, okay, so we played a game called Better Sip. So it's Better Shot. If you have to call your shots. If you miss your shot, you have to do a shot of tequila. Yeah. So Simon missed a lot. he drank a lot. And I beat him, I think, one-handed on the 8 ball. And that was it. He got up. He was wearing a Spider-Man cheap knockoff wrestler mask from Tijuana because he had gone there the day before. And like he got up on the table and he started swinging the fucking cue around and started going, "I'm the Biz." I think the barmaid comes over and said, "Okay, Biz, can you get off the pool table? You're scaring the customers." He goes, "Oh, I'm sorry." Yeah, we've been friends ever since. He's a good guy.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Yeah. Biz seemed, well, as soon as I mentioned you, he was like, "Oh, Buzz, tell my," like, and then he was like, "Record a video for me," and then he wanted me to send you.
He used to call me drunk at weird hours and weird days. Like I live in Brooklyn near Brighton Beach.
I think you told me that.
He lives in England, and he thought I live in Brighton over there.
Why would he think you live
because
in
he's
UK?
just near Brighton and he's drunk. So and he had my phone number, and I will get a call and I would be like, "Yes, hello." He goes, "Hey," I can't do the fucking accent. "Hey, Buzz, it's Simon." I'm like, "Biz?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "What are you doing?" It's like, "Where were you tonight?" "I was at home." "Oh, I thought you would be at the pub." I'm like, "What pub?" "So I was in Brighton today, and at the local pub. I thought you hung out there." It's like, "Simon, I'm in America." I'm in New York, Brooklyn. I live at Brighton Beach. I'm not in Brighton, England, over there. I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot." "So how are you doing, mate?"
That's funny.
God.
That's good.
He told me, like, I came home and I was like a ninja, but I think I broke all the windows in the greenhouse. And his wife or daughter grew flowers, and they had a terrarium or something. He fell through the thing trying to sneak back in the house early in the morning and broke all the glass. And he called me up to tell me that. I'm like, "What do you want me to do, Simon?" He said, "No, I just wanted to talk to somebody." So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So
Vaughn,
yeah,
how are you guys doing with the book?
the book is actually just finished colors.
Yeah.
The colors just came in. So,
I gotta tell you, man, I was looking through it's a pretty solid book.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's for a first time out, man. Your book is looking professional.
Yeah, well, I wanted to make sure I didn't want it to look like a first timer.
Yeah, no, especially with that guy Buzz's cover.
That Buzz cover is great. Oh yeah, let me show it. Yeah, let me show it off again. Dash's colors are great too.
Yeah, no, and you know what? I didn't know that Dash had a show to do, like a convention appearance. So he had to do this right before, he went to the show. So I thank him for finding the time to do that for us.
And he killed it, man. Like, it doesn't look like rushed at all.
It took me a long time to find a colorist that I was happy with. You know how, what I said about how pencilers feel about inkers?
Yeah.
Well, I had the same thing about colorists. I had never been happy with anybody's colors on my work before. And my problem is, I'm old school. I don't like the over-rendered, 3D look that a lot of people like now, Because
Too
if
many
you look
colorists overdo it.
yeah, no, if you look at the artwork, it's barely any line work in it. It's just, you know, so the artist's not really drawing anything. They're just doing an outline and letting the colors do all the fun stuff. It doesn't work for me. Like, you know, so I needed a colorist that can kind of enhance what I do, but kind of maintain my lines, because I want people to know this is a drawing, this is hand drawn. So you have some of previous work that Dash has color over my work, and he does a really good job.
He kills it every time.
Yeah. So I mean, the color kind of enhances the coexist, and you know, you appreciate the color, and you still appreciate the drawing.
Was this Dash?
Yes, that was
Okay.
our first. No, that wasn't our first. Our first work together was Batman and the Max.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then he did the Vampirella. But Dynamite printer prints everything dark.
Mhm.
So we had to learn how to lighten up stuff whenever Dynamite gets it. You ever try to read a Dynamite comic book? Go look through the interior. Like, it's like everything is dark.
Yeah, I know.
Colors
I
are
did.
dark.
You know, but I felt like, because this is some of my first exposure to Vampirella.
Yeah.
Not I have to be judicious with what I back, but Phenomenal was on my for sure list.
Crenshaw,
Thank
that's
you so much.
fantastic, man.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a good book. And this cover, I was like, you were one of the first people I was like, I definitely want Buzz to do a cover, and you killed it, man. I mean, this is the obvious. I love your response here. You're like, you like the cover? I'm like, yeah. And you're like, of course you do.
You know, originally I was gonna put the crystal by your crotch.
Oh yeah.
Because if you bring the crystal down, you know, it's like, no, I'm kidding.
Yeah, this is hang on, I have all of it. Where is it? I have okay, because I have a bunch of your art to show, but I remember the initial thumbnail alone.
Yeah. Yeah, I stay pretty close to the thumbnail, because I mean, when things get too laborious, you kind of lose it. So yeah, there it is. So I got what I want right from the thumbnail, and then I just blew it up, and then I just inked it, and then, you know, so there isn't much of a difference.
No.
I mean, you know, I'll correct the anatomy. I'll reference a couple of things. You know, I'll fix the hands so they look better. You know, but basically, what you saw in the thumbnails is what's delivered in the finish.
That's awesome. Yeah, these are. I love it. It totally. I mean, I've been so blessed with the covers I've gotten. You know, I really have. And I always, whenever I'm at your booth, I'm always getting whatever cover you've got going. And I do have a question actually about Billy, because I asked Billy Tucci, I'm like, why wasn't Buzz in Senryaku? And this is Billy said that you blew him off. Is that true?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, because I
didn't want to draw it.
He was like, I asked Buzz, he blew me off.
No, I was. That's my career right there. It's just it's everything by feeling in my heart, which is why I'm not as successful as these guys. It's just, you know, I had life happening to me, and then I'm just so controlled by my artistic emotions. You know, I just got bored, and I was like, he's got all these other guys doing She, and he should be happy with it. I don't think my contribution is going to really add more to it, because the stuff looked already amazing, and he had a lot of amazing guys.
Oh my god, yeah! I was at Heroes Con. I was just getting it signed by a bunch of people. I probably have to take out a loan to get Jim Lee to sign it, but
you know, all that bullshit about people getting all worked up.
No, that was stupid.
But you know what the thing is? None of those people could afford it anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, look, if you just want to have a Jim Lee something, there's an affordable something Jim Lee item out there for you. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And I will always side with the artist and what they want. I'm an artist too. So I say, you know, like, don't bitch about the price of a Porsche if all you can afford is a Hyundai.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I'm in agreement with you. Look, Jim Lee, I mean, I don't know. Like, I've expanded my palette, but like my first comic was Batman Hush. So he's either my favorite or one of my favorites for sure. But I can accept that I won't be able to afford his stuff. Like, that's fine. You know, there's plenty of great artists.
I don't own any Jim Lee's work.
Yeah, I mean, there's
I
plenty
never
of
need to own one. Yeah.
there's plenty of other artists that could use. If you're going to complain about it, how he's unaffordable, give it to an artist that you can afford and help them.
Well, I'm just not a fan of Jim's new shit. I like his stuff when he was doing like X-Men.
Mhm.
No, not this, like Uncanny.
Yeah.
When he was hungry and he was trying some new stuff. The rest is beautiful. I mean, he's like the Coca-Cola of comic books. He's stuck being Jim Lee. If he tries to draw different, nobody will buy that shit. So he's got to keep recycling all that same drawings.
Whereas
and
you, I know,
fine. They're beautiful drawings. So but the masses want that.
Yeah, and I noticed. I mean, that tends to happen. I noticed, but like your art, for example, is so buried. Like I'm gonna pull it up, but I notice you tend to draw in a variety of styles.
Yeah, I do.
So there we
that's
go.
my Lilo and Stitch cover.
There's Thundercats.
Yeah.
There we go.
Was
this Dash as well?
Huh?
This is Dash.
Yeah. If it's a computer color, it's Dash. If it's painted, it's me. That's me.
Okay. Is that Dash or who is that?
That actually is Dash, but the original is all done in ink wash.
Okay.
That's for that series Feral, which is really popular now, and all the covers they're all movie poster homages. And they asked me to do one, and they hadn't done one with Fright Night, so I took the Fright Night movie poster and I redid it with cats instead of the vampire faces, and I did it all in ink wash. And Dash went in and changed the tone so that it looks like the movie poster. He did a really good job, but that was fun. That book is sold out too. Yeah. By the way, if you go to my Whatnot or on my website, justbuzzart.com, these things are up for sale if anybody's interested. You want to purchase.
All right, let me go ahead and grab that.
But I'm doing another one, and it's going to be done as New York Comic Con exclusive. I'm doing Feral #6. It's the next story arc, but this time I'm going to homage the Gremlin movie poster.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah, so here I got it here. If you want to check it out,
let's see it. So, oh, nice.
So instead of the Mogwai, you have the cat. He's like clawed up the hand and shit. So
yeah, that's awesome.
So that should be an exclusive for New York Comic Con. And my buddy Chris Batista just got on. He just did the first issue came out, Gatchaman #1, which is Battle of the Planet or G-Force as a classic anime. I'm doing a New York Comic Con exclusive for that with the homage to Giant Size X-Men #1 cover. So that's yeah.
You know me. I'm gonna have to, because I have a list of like covers and stuff I want to homage. Obviously, Giant Size X-Men is one I'd love to do. That's I think one of my favorite comics ever, which is not an uncontroversial opinion. Right. This one I like. Steampunk Sonia was this?
Yeah.
Dynamite's always doing these 5 million Red Sonia or the Umbrella books. And the thing is, I kept buying them, but I kept going, why am I? Is it just because she's hot? Is that why I keep buying this over and over?
Pretty much. And
yes. Yeah.
I mean, Dynamite stuff sells, on the hot chick covers. They got some great covers, like Lucio Perillo, my buddy.
Oh yeah.
But this one, I don't know if I send the black and white. It was drawn in another style. I'm also influenced by like Franklin Booth. This kind of wicker hatching style. It's time consuming, but I love like noodling away at the drawing. Frank Cho does that. Whenever he does these decorative covers, he does all of this cross hatch line work. Is Franklin Booth. We're both influenced by that. I do that also. So here is the curse. When you're in the business, what they want you to do is to develop a recognizable style so that you become a product, and it's easier to sell your brand because you become easily recognizable. Somebody looks at Jim Lee's artwork, you can tell it's Jim Lee, you can tell it's Kirby, you can tell, whoever, just by a glance. That's how they sell you. That's not going to work with me. There is no specific buzz style comic because it's not what I wanted. I felt like when I learned how to ink, when I started to learn how to ink, I realized that I'm cheating myself out of being a fully functional artist by not doing everything. I want to learn. I'm a sponge, you know. I want to learn
Yeah.
more about my craft. So I ink, I pencil, I paint, I do everything. And doing so, it made me a better artist. And I draw in several different styles too, which came in handy when I was doing commercial art for many years. So I don't need to have a recognizable style for the fans to go, oh, that's a Buzz. I want them to go, hey, what's Buzz doing next? And, you know, be kind of surprised, you know, look forward to, oh, I hope he can do this and this style. I want to see him do this and that style. I think I find it a bit more fulfilling as an artist. And because of the age that we live in, you know, back in the day before the internet, you kind of had to rely on the big two to really put you out there.
Right.
I can't work for Marvel or DC even if they give me work because they don't pay enough. The reality of it is they pay like shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Oh, I've heard that.
So yeah. So if I just want to stroke my ego and have my work be seen, you have the internet. You have your following. I can show my work and I can connect with people instantly in numbers that you won't if you know, work for somebody else's work. Now, not to say that your aspiration to one day become a Marvel or DC artist is not a bad thing. It's a wonderful thing. If you make it, then you have to take that opportunity and remember this. If you ever get to work for Marvel or DC, you get to draw X-Men or Batman or Superman, ask yourself that those properties are going to outlive you. You don't own them. Okay? And as long as you work for somebody, they will always make more money off your work than you ever will because you don't own that IP. Remember that.
Yep.
So so while you are on a popular book, while everyone is focused on you, take all the acolytes and make them follow you for your art, not for the character you're drawing. Not only for the character you're drawing, because they couldn't give a shit. You know, they'll fire you if they can hire 2 Filipino artists for the rate that they're giving you.
Yeah.
So
that's true. And you know, that brings me to something else. Hold on. It's getting darker, so I'm gonna have to turn the light on. It looks like, you know, it looks like a Dynamite comic right now. But I'm gonna turn the light on real quick. But that brings me to, because normally I follow writers, right? I'm a writer, you know. But there was a few artists that I'll follow, like Jim Lee was one of them. But even then, not to the extent of this guy. But hold on a sec, because this guy's relevant to you. All right. I want to talk about little known fact. So Buzz you were going to be the Witchblade artist before Michael Turner.
Yeah, no, what happened was when I was on Vampirella, Harris was trying out a lot of different colorists. And when Billy did Cyberblade She, Brian Haberlin was the colorist, pretty much in charge of Top Cow. That guy revolutionized our coloring style that we still do. He's amazing. So he started coloring some stuff for Harris, and he and I became good friends. Him, and Michael Baer, another artist friend, ex-friend of mine. And Witchblade had premiered in the She Cyberblade crossover. And Brian asked me if I'd be interested in trying out to do Witchblade as a series. And Harris Comics won't let me out off their contract from Vampirella.
Man.
So I didn't get to do it. So they gave the job to a studio artist named Michael Turner. And I became a big, I put him up there. Deserving, though. Michael was an amazing artist, a great guy, man, that guy.
Yeah, I know. I mean, he was the best man at Dan Frega's wedding. He told me that. He was like one of the close. I've never heard anyone say anything other than, I think Matt Hawkins said he was the godfather to one of his kids. Like, everyone says that Michael is the nicest guy. But I had seen Witchblade, and obviously it was like a hot chick book, but I was surprised by how good it was.
Yeah.
Even down like the writing, like David Wall's writing is really good in it too. But yeah, I mean, I was like, who is this guy? So when he left the book, I mean, it took a bit because Randy Green is great. But I was like, I want to see more of Michael's stuff, and that led me to Fathom and
Well, you know, he wasn't.
Soulfire.
They weren't treating him right. He wasn't happy, so he started his own company. There you go.
Yeah. Well, that's how it is. And I mean, he obviously killed it. But I wanted to ask, so you because you draw these hot chick books. You've done so many of them. What was your favorite? And how did you develop that style?
Um, you
What's
know,
the secret to drawing good boobs, Buzz? Give me
be
the sauce.
interested in boobs.
Oh, okay. That's it.
I draw women that I would like to be with.
Oh, okay. All right, there we
Right?
go. That's it.
Right? It's a fantasy. You know, no guy, no straight guy ever wake up one morning and say, "I want to bang an ugly chick."
Mm-hmm.
I'm being rude, but
it's true. It's a rude question.
So, you know, I draw women and that kind of looks like somebody I want to be with. I want to be friends with. You know, play pinochle, you know, Uno. I don't know. Yeah, have a beer with. But no, it's just that. But the approach to it, there's no. When you draw the female form, your mindset is different. You don't think the same way, and you don't make the same approach when you draw a male figure. You got to tap into a kind of a more graceful, you know, even a feminine part of your psyche, because women are beautiful. They have longer limbs, curves. There's grace to them when you draw them. So even the approach is different. The mindset is different. When you draw guys, you think, you know, you have music in the background, rock playing or metal playing, and, you know, there's power and rigid, and you can't have that when you draw women. If you do that, you're going to draw guys with tits. It doesn't work, right? So the whole mindset is different. You know, you have to really appreciate a form, a woman's, like a female form. So when I even hold the pen and brush different when I draw the female form.
Oh, that's interesting.
And the lines are longer, more graceful, and then that's the approach. There's no style per se. That comes later. And you know, you choose after the layout part's done what you want the finish to be. You know, in ink, in watercolor, and paint. That's when you know, if you have more than, you know, one style, your brain can, like a Rolodex, and just look for the right one and then apply it to it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because it's interesting hearing that, because I obviously see a difference, but it definitely, especially looking at your art, definitely I could see it. Alex asked, Buzz, do you have any Eastern manga art style pieces?
Do I have any manga art style pieces? I probably do. I'm an old otaku. My influences are not just American comics.
Right.
I mean, like, you know, I look at, I love like Otomo and like Ryuichi Ikegami, you know, Tetsuo Tarada, you know, I mean, even like Yoshikazu Yasuhiro, Mikimoto, you know, Shiro. So all of that. As a matter of fact, the reason Neil hired me to do a book called Cyber Rat, because I drew like those Japanese guys. I had a lot of manga influences when I started. And the American comic industry kind of beat me out of it, because here's the thing, right? So back in the 80s, mid 80s or so, they did not want to see any Eastern influences in the art. Everything was all European or American art, right? If you look at it now, if you can't draw manga inspired stuff, you're not getting work.
Yeah, my book ended up being a mix of both.
Yeah. So I had to like, so when Neil brought me up to Continuity, he had a book idea for a comic book called Cyber Rat. You know, it was a cybernetic radical, you know, based on his middle son, you know, posed for it. But it's his cyborg, you know, character. He because he has seen a Japanese manga called Xenon about a teenage guy that turns into a robot. You know, he has these hidden mechanical stuff coming out. He wanted to do that, but he couldn't get his American artists that are working for him like really capture that. They didn't understand it because manga and anime is a different art form.
Mm-hmm.
Just putting speed lines in the back is not gonna. It makes manga.
Oh, I hate when you could tell like American artists just trying to be like,
Yeah.
and it's like no, like incorporate it in your style or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a
There are
lot.
very few American made like legit manga artists out there. Adam Warren, who did Dirty Pair, I think he probably only one of them, that I'm familiar with.
I know. I
Because
mean, it may not be the same, but Art Adams and Michael Golden obviously pulled from, and Frank Miller pulled from it.
yeah,
You could see it in their work, especially Frank Miller's like his panel layouts. You could see.
yeah. Well, because he was reading, Lone Wolf and Cub,
Mhm.
and so his influence is completely. Yeah, he was bringing, and the thing is, when he was doing Sin City, that style is actually he was aping Sampaio. Alex Sinner is the name of the series, and he was looking at a lot of European stuff. One of my favorite top 5 artists is a female artist, a French female artist named Claire Wendling, and like she's up there, and this woman is fearless. She can draw anything, from animals to humans. She can switch up styles. She can out Mignola. She can do a Frazetta. Amazing artist, because there's no comic art in Europe. Art is art. They don't do monthly books. They do graphic novels. So, and people, fans, they follow a creator and wait for them to finish a project, and then they devour it. They support it. So yeah, no, I have a huge influence in manga and anime. If I need to, I can bring it out in my work.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a long way of answering that question.
No, it's a great answer. And your favorite artists, who are they? Who would you say are your top biggest influences?
They switch around, and there are more than 5, but Neil is one of them. John Buscema. Okay, let's say European and American art form, comic art form influences.
Okay.
Right? Bernie Wrightson, Neil Adams, Frazetta. I would say huge Michael Golden. Right?
I know that guy, yeah.
And probably top of them all is Jose Luis Garcia Lopez.
Oh, he's so
okay.
good.
And then you have like all the technique guys that are just amazing, like Brian Bolland, but now artists that are working now, my favorites aren't even newbies. It's like Lee Weeks, Stuart Immonen, it's guys like that. Adam Hughes, of course, Jason Pearson, the late Jason Pearson, stuff like that. Now, the other inspiration is like one of my big inspiration is a Chinese artist named Ma Win-shin. All right. And if you know your manga, anime, and Eastern comic books and films and animation, you know who I'm talking about. Ma Win-shin, he did Storm Riders, Blood Sword Dynasty. The guy's amazing. In Japanese, you have Ryuichi Ikegami, Tatsuro Otomo, Masamune Shiro, the ones I mentioned before. Mikimoto did Macross, and Yasuhiro Yoshikazu, who did Gundam and Venus Wars, and so all of that. Tatsuro Tarada. So I'm naming names that if you don't know who they are, slow it down and look them up. Right? European guys, Marini is great. Jordi Benet, amazing artist, right? You have Claire Wendling. Oh, back to the Asian, the late great Kim Jong-gi.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So and then in the classic American artists, like there are times where my style is not what calls for it is not needed for the busy stuff that are delineated down to the essence and the packs are wallop is guys like Alex Toth, the late Jean-Paul Leon, Dave Mazzucchelli. And I would say that the modern Dave Mazzucchelli and Alex Toth is probably a guy named Chris Semney.
I don't know. Chris Samney sounds familiar.
Yeah, and I mean these are the
Mazzucchelli's
the artists
storytelling
and their work
is.
that are always swimming in my head. So
All right, Samney, I'm gonna have to look at. I already like his.
Samney.
Yeah,
Samnee. Yeah.
That's some solid. I mean, obviously, I love Mazzucchelli. There's so many names that I love in that bunch.
Now, if Billy would actually submerge himself in all these names that I've mentioned, he'd be a better artist today.
Oh, he just responded. It's so perfect timing because he literally just responded. He says that about everyone, doesn't he? The tweet thing. I'll tell him.
I miss you, brother.
Hang on, I'm gonna tell him to watch.
Yeah, Samney's like, oh my god. They just IDW just put out the artist edition of the stuff he did for Black Widow. Oh wow, that thing is it's just beautiful, man.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And then one other thing that you mentioned on stream that is a big deal to me because I mean, she may not be my favorite, but she's still a Mortal Kombat character. So you designed Shiva for Mortal Kombat.
Oh
right?
yeah, no, that was cool. That was like, this is like Harris Comics. Well, I tell you, Harris Publication did more like regular magazines than comics. They wanted to do something with. They were trying to do Wizard for like video games and other stuff. You know, like Wizard magazine, like video game answer for it. And they had just gotten the scoop on the new Mortal Kombat characters, and they asked me to do a cover, and I just came off a binge, man. I was so drunk, I was hungover, and they needed this cover, so I drew this in the office, I believe, with a micron pens and a Sharpie, but it's Shiva. So it was I did the drawing. From the design, I realized it into a finished drawing, and officially, it was the first published image of Shiva.
Oh, but she was fully designed, but then you.
Yeah. I had to put. They were like design, meaning there were like several versions. Nothing was finalized yet. So I did. What
was the name of this cover?
No, I think the magazine was called Flux or something like that. Yeah.
How's that spelled?
Flux. Flux.
Flux Shiva. Flux. Do you remember what issue it was?
No, man. Fucking, I don't remember what year it was. I was, like I said, I was into a lot of mind-altering stuff.
Let me see if I can find it. All right, it's not. Let's see. I'm going to see if I just look up. Oh, here it is. Oh shit! It was one of the first ones that came up. Okay, right here. I
gave it to the assistant editor on the at Harris of the video games, and he liked it so much. I gave it to him as a present. And recently, he found me on Twitter, and he still had the original art, so he posted it. Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, because. That's something exposed Lady Death, Vampirella, and she. Okay, that's so cool. Yeah, Mortal Kombat is one of those things that I'm a big fan of. So, I found that really interesting. I am curious, of all the things you've done in your comic book career, what is your favorite?
I had fun doing JSA for DC. I don't think I have a favorite yet because I still want to do more. But I think my favorite will be something that I would do for myself. Awesome. But I had fun doing JSA because those were characters that I read from my father's comic books. So when I was on JSA doing for DC back in 2000, I had a lot of fun with that. That was also when I started for mainstream. I started inking myself. I was hired as an inker. I was friends with an artist named Michael Baer, who was an inker on at DC, and he was on JSA. And Steve Sadowski was the regular penciler on it. And so I think Steve was late or Bear was late or something. I was helping Michael Baer out with the inks and kind of ghosting him and doing backgrounds because I needed some cash. I had been away from the business. I took a break for a while. So pages came in, and Bear had to jump on Steve's pencils, but they had an issue that needed inking. I think it was drawn by Derek Aucoin, and they gave it to me. So I inked it. And Bear took me up to DC, and they knew me, but I hadn't worked there since the late '80s, And when the editor found out that I'm not an inker, I just ink. I can ink, but I can pencil also. He was like, shit, I only have to deal with one artist for 2 chores, that's already been proven. So they gave me the alternate story arcs with the main story arc. So I got to ink myself when I was on JSA.
That sounds like a fun one. So you mentioned that you grew up on those. What were your favorite comics growing up, and who were your favorite characters?
It's funny. As much as I loved like Captain Marvel, my father used to draw them, so I have a soft spot for it. It's the character. My favorite character, comic character, is the character that parodied Captain Marvel. It's Miracle Man.
I remember you saying, didn't you get Kim Jung-gi to draw Miracle Man?
No, I have a sketchbook. After many years of being in the industry, I'm a geek. I'm a nerd too. I wanted to get some, like a sketchbook, sketches from my favorite artists, friends, colleagues. But I was always kind of weird to ask them, because if you do, I've seen it, other industry pros ask other pros. They think it's a joke, so you draw something stupid, or they won't do it, So that's Kim Jung-gi doing the sketch. So finally, in like 2015 or 11, I got myself a big sketchbook, and I said I want to get it. I want to get a sketch of Miracle Man by my favorite artist. Only my favorite artist, and it has to be also artists that worked on the book itself, because I love the series. And the first one I gave it to Steve Rude. All I want was a sketch. Just a sketch.
I think I have this one. The painted one. Right?
I gave it to Steve, and he sent back a fucking painting. Yeah, that one. So I was screwed. That's the first image in the sketchbook. So when you start with that, nobody's gonna want to do a sketch in that book, man. So.
I love it. I do love. It's almost like the way to get some of the best artists is you have artists.
No, but because like Steve is such a great guy that he did that painting. So, and then the next piece is Travis Charest. So it stayed that way for a long time, because the next artist looks at those 2 pieces, they don't want to draw. So, but I did manage to get Adam Hughes in there. I got Kim Jung-gi, and I got Brian Stelfreeze. And the pandemic happened. I gave it to Dave Williams. David Williams. And I gave it to him, and he had it for a couple of years, and he was afraid to draw in it. He told me, he said, look, I'll do it on a different board, but I'm not putting that in that book. It's too scary. Like, he literally got intimidated by the book. I was like, all right, just send me back the fucking book, because I want to send it to Sienkiewicz. They built me do one, and and Alan Davis did one in there, and and I was so happy to get it, because Alan was also one of the original artists for the series. So
Alan Davis's stuff is amazing.
Yeah, and he's a good friend. Alan's amazing.
He's one of those few artists. I was talking to Terry Cavanaugh, because I remember you had mentioned this, and I hadn't really thought of it, that he's one of those few guys that can keep the consistent quality month to month.
On a monthly book. No.
And I don't know how the hell he did that. Well, him and Paul Neary.
Him and Kirby, it's like, and George Perez too at some point. It's just, but like, Alan Davis started out, cloning Neil, and then just went off on his own. And they were close friends too, before Neil passed. But like, Alan Davis would do a monthly book, and every issue pick up for a normal artist, this would be a graphic novel, a one-time book, because he delivers so much, and he does it monthly. He's so good. It's amazing, amazing. That man is just. He's also one of my main influences. Yeah.
Yeah, Alan Davis is the man. His stuff is so good. Such a nice guy too. Such a nice guy.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, I've read like his Excalibur and then his X-Men issues that he did, and I haven't read the Excalibur that he wrote. I've only read the first.
You know, the thing was when he got on Uncanny, we were all hoping that he would stay for a few issues. Yeah, and you know, it wasn't meant to, because he got the Excalibur gig because he got to write and draw it, so of course he took that. Yeah. But you know that was it 213, that Wolverine and
that cover
fight on the cover. Oh God!
It's when it's like Psylocke first is
in the costume, new costume.
Yeah, which honestly I'm not crazy about that. I honestly thought Psylocke was a really boring character until
Psylocke was a side character, you know. But you know, she suspiciously became Asian when Jim Lee drew her.
Which what I thought, I didn't think of that. But what I think is funny too is because I assumed that the body swap, I grew up with that backstory, but I didn't realize that literally the backstory in the comic was that he literally genetically turns her Asian.
They look. You guys want to know why Psylocke became an Asian? Is because Psylocke is Elektra. Okay.
Yeah.
At the time, Marvel couldn't revive and touch Elektra. That was an understanding they had with Frank Miller. You know, like Frank created and he owns Elektra, so he had a say in where direction and what they do with her. So Claremont and Jim created an Elektra, except she was Asian and it's the same fucking costume, but it's blue.
That's so interesting. I never realized. I never knew that. That makes perfect sense because it just kind of comes out of nowhere. I mean, I was fine with it. I liked the costume where she had the hood, but obviously I'll take the hot chick out. But yeah, her outfit is basically Elektra, so that makes sense.
Yeah, just blue.
And then they brought Elektra back like a few years later anyway.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So you said Mr. Miracle was your favorite.
Miracle Man.
I'm sorry, I meant Miracle Man. Miracle Man. That one is a run. That's a character I've never read anything on.
I believe that Alan Moore's work on Miracle Man is even better than Watchmen. And Watchmen's great. Yeah. I love his work on Miracle Man. If you haven't, you've never read that?
No, it's on my list.
You have to. So Marvel Man or Marvel Family, the character called Marvel Man, it was a parody or ripoff of the Shazam family, except they're all blonde, right? And it was created. It was a comic book in England. So their adventures are very close to what was happening in the Wiz comic and the Captain Marvel comics, and they stopped publishing for a while. So they gave Alan Moore the project, and he wrote a story about what if, you know, Miracle Man retired and went into obscurity and disappeared for many years, and he comes back. So it became a serious story, not the whimsical shit anymore. That became part of his past. And then, like, oh my, I have to describe it, but the thing is, you should read it.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna want to read it.
You'll see the seeds that Alan Moore planted, which will later become influential to what he did in Watchmen and all the other stuff. His best stuff is Miracle Man. Yeah.
I've been putting it off for like well over a year at this point, but I've wanted to do shows where we just talk about certain comics. So I guess I'd love to have you on and talk about Miracle Man.
No, anytime.
All right, I got to find the trade or on how long is that run?
The original series was in England, and First Comic brought it here, and they reprinted, and then it went into new materials, and it didn't go too far. It went to like 20 something. So what happened was Alan Moore continued the story with new art, and it was the original artist was Gary Leach and Alan Davis. And then the latest story, as it continued in American publication, it was Toddlebin, John Toddlebin. That was the best sequence with the young milkman and the destruction of London. It's brutal. And then Chuck Austin did some. Rick Veitch and Rick Bryant did the story arc with the birth of his kid, and it was the first time the comic book cover showed a childbirth. And comic book authority code had nothing to do with it. It passed it. It was pretty cool. But it's a story about a man-made God and his ascension and descent. And Neil Gaiman came on to finish up the storyline. Alan Moore handpicked him to continue the saga of his character and gave Neil the ownership, the right to the character.
So Neil Gaiman
Alan
owns?
Moore dissociated himself from the book, and he gave the right to the character to everyone that helped develop it from the beginning. So Gary Leach owned part of it, Alan Davis owned part of it, and then Neil Gaiman owns the rest. And I guess he made a deal with Marvel and gave it to him.
That's so full circle. Alan Davis. That's what Marvel gave something.
Well, he didn't give it to Marvel. He gave the Marvel Comics a publishing right and to develop the character more, so they can have new stories, which he's writing, right? So yeah,
that's cool. That's awesome. It's always fun talking to you about all of this. I got to read. My reading list is ever growing, so I got to actually sit my ass down and read.
We actually managed to talk about comics and art, not just me taking a shit in Buzz Aldrin's bathroom. Look at that.
Well, that's always fun too. But we get a bit of both, and it's been fun. And so, what do you got coming up? You got any shows?
Yeah. So so far, I'm going to be at Terrific Con.
Oh, me too.
In August, and you'll be there. And it's the fucking guest list is ridiculous.
I gotta take a look. I know Chris Claremont. I missed the 60th X-Men anniversary last year because I was at a different con that weekend.
Right.
But Chris Claremont is back, so that's good. Billy's going to be there.
Yeah, I'm going to make him draw feet. We'll have a draw off.
I was going to say I'd love to. Not even joking. I'd love to host a draw off between you and Billy Tucci at one.
You don't want to do that to Billy, man.
I'll ask Billy. He's interested.
He'll come up with some excuses not to do it.
Oh. Right, well, we'll see. We'll see.
I can't do it. It's Be Kind to Asians week. I don't want to beat you up.
Jim Lee's going to be there too. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, this is a crazy line.
See, I'm the standby. They get Jim Lee. That's whenever they can't get Jim Lee or Frank Cho at a show, they get me because two of them like midgets. So I'm 6 feet tall Asian. So if you stack Jim Lee on top of Frank Cho, you get
you get me.
Having me at a show is like having two regular size Asian artists.
Oh, that's good. That's very economical.
Oh God, I'm like ripping on my friends.
That's so good. So Terrific Con. You'll be at, I assume, Garden State next year. Are you going to be at New York Comic Con?
Yeah, I'll be at New York Comic Con.
Oh, okay.
I got approved. So I'll be there. I'm going to have some cool exclusives that the Feral, and then I'm doing the Gotchaman #1 New York Comic Con exclusive with a Giant Size X-Men #1 homage. If you follow me on my accounts on social media, you'll get to see me post all the progress. And on Sundays, every Sunday, I do a live sketching on Whatnot. Well, you can come in, you can request a commission, any character you want, and I draw it live on a blank cover or on a sheet of paper, and listen to them 80s earworm, music in the background, and then listen to me freaking, talk bad about everybody and drop bathroom humor. So you can join me there. It was a lot of fun.
So do that. Follow Buzz Whatnot. That's on Sundays, right? Is it
Sundays? I have a show for this Sunday already scheduled. You can go and bookmark it. Yeah. Oh, also during San Diego Comic-Con, since I'm not going to be at San Diego Comic-Con, I have 4 shows called I'm Not at San Diego Comic-Con. So at the same time as the show, I'm going live on Whatnot. So if you come in on my show, it's like you're visiting me at a booth, my table at San Diego. I'm going to have comics. I'm going to have art. I'll be doing live sketching.
Witty commentary, of course.
Of course. And by the way, guys, I am not shy, well, as you can see. If you're an aspiring artist and if you want to know about technique and approaches and, tools and such, anytime, drop me a line or like come in the chat during one of my live shows and I'll be happy to accommodate you, so.
Oh yeah, it's always great. Yeah, you really give great feedback and you're always helping people out. I'll tell people to like artists, yeah, you should absolutely talk to Buzz. Buzz knows his stuff. And it looks like you've got some of your covers on your website.
Yeah, that's so far. This is new. This is a new site. So far, my last 3 exclusives are up there for sale. They're very limited. And then they come signed with certificate of authenticity. And you can shop there, and you can follow me on Instagram if you want to, just. My Facebook is something I don't post because, I have a Facebook account too. One is just for my art, and one is my personal stuff. People get upset on it sometimes because I don't allow any politics or religious arguments. It's just some god awful bathroom humor. I mean, so if you're easily offended by that shit, I'm like, okay, just go to my other stuff for art, and it's much safer there.
Oh yeah, but both. I mean, I have you on both, but yeah, that's always fun. And then you got some original art and commissions. Are you available for commissions or
not through that? You got to come soon. I will, but again, my buddy Cliff is putting that together, but. For now, yeah, contact me through Instagram or whatnot, and you can order ahead too.
Absolutely. So everyone, make sure you check that out. I'm gonna go ahead and put that the Instagram here too. It's all in my bio too.
This is something drawn live on whatnot. Somebody wanted something like this, and I draw it up.
Oh yeah, and Bobby has the naked raven that you drew him.
Yeah, that's how he got it. He came on whatnot, and I ordered one.
Yeah. I have a Vampirella from you. I'll have to get something else at some point, but
sure.
I mean, it's always worth it. It's always worth it.
Well, everything is downhill after a cover, so.
I've had 100% satisfaction rate. So.
Oh, good.
I'm glad.
All right, and thank you, Vaughn. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on. It's been great.
Yeah, just in time because somebody wants my attention again.
All right. Well, so that's where everyone can find Buzz. Make sure to check him out on Instagram, on whatnot. And everyone, if you're watching, make sure you back that cover because all my covers are going to be campaign exclusive. So whatever platform you want. Luckily, Kickstarter and Indiegogo, they don't make people do exclusives. So you can get Buzz on whatever your platform is of choice. But make sure you get Buzz's cover because once it goes to the printer, there'll be extra main covers. I might have for shows some extra Buzz covers, but it won't be much. So if you want to guarantee that you get it at that price range, because it's only going to go up in price, make sure you back the book on one of those platforms.
What he said.
Yeah. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for everyone for dropping in. And I'm sorry I couldn't read the chat to answer everything, but find me on my other platform. Yeah. I'll make sure to accommodate you there. All right.
Absolutely. Catch us at conventions and stay tuned to my channel. I'm going to be having some more exciting interviews coming up, and I hope to see you there. Thank you guys. And as we head out, I'm going to play the trailer for my comic as we head out.
All right.
See you guys. When the whole world was dragged into World War III, brave men like my father fought on the front lines. And they weren't alone. That was 20 years ago. Now it's up to us to carry on their legacy. And every so often, the earth from which we come gives way for something new. Something greater to be born, and with them, even greater threats to face.
Phenomenova.
For you, Dad. For you.